Hello, basketball fans, and welcome to the final edition of our Overtime March Madness Prediction Show. I'm your host, Theodore Fernandez. It's been an incredible run. I think we've had a very good show so far, and great to have everyone back here to wrap it up, including Drew Borner. Drew, you were out last week. Your pick was wrong. You said you were trying out for the golf team. Really nothing going for you right now. Did you at least make the golf team?
I did not.
Okay, that's just atrocious. That's we're gonna move on from that. That's just depressing to think about.
I can't move on for that. Now, as the athletic director, I know the talent and skill of the Division I prospect that Drew Borner is. I think I got to fire the golf coach. I'm not sure. Drew, what do you think?
I don't think you have to go that far with that, but
it's okay. I like the golf coach, but I might have to fire him anyway. All right.
Can't be too good at everything. We have to. We can't let you dominate every sport. Speaking of dominating sports, how about that Kansas run? Nick, you saw them take down your UNC Tar Heels. What was it like watching your team in the Final Four?
Look, I didn't think Kansas's run to the championship was so difficult, but them in the championship game, the way they rallied back in the second half, they really did come together as a team and play well and show why they're a one seed and why they should be in the championship to begin with. And they had a couple of good players really step up in the second half, and UNC just crumbled. So I'll give it to Kansas. They had a great run this year, and they came away with the championship.
One of the main themes of this tournament really was coaching. Coach K was really the main storyline. We saw guys like Jay Wright, Bill Selfs, Shaheen Holloway with St. Peter's. We just saw coaching play out in so many ways. So, Coach, I'm going to toss it over to you. Do you have any inside information you can give from an actual coach's perspective on what these coaches were able to do to motivate their teams?
I thought you saw, from a coaching standpoint, you saw the best of the best. You had great coaching throughout the entire, all the way from the Elite Eight, even the Sweet 16. You had tremendous coaching. And for guys like us to be able to watch Coach K in his final game and all the great things he did, and Jay Wright, and watching Hubert Davis come on as a new coach, as a new head coach of UNC, man, it was awesome. So love the coaching, love the games. It was awesome. And that was a really, really good tournament for you to watch, especially from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was so fun to watch the tournament. Even better for me, because I was at the Final Four. You guys can see the shirt I'm wearing. It's way too small on me, but I threw it on for this show. Got the New Orleans Final Four patch. I was in New Orleans. It was incredible getting to see the games. I'm just going to go tell you guys the atmosphere that was there was unmatched. So, Nick, I'm going to toss it over to you because you're a UNC fan, not necessarily in the hotbed of other UNC fans. But just tell us about the culture of being a fan of a huge program like that.
It's awesome. Honestly, even at the beginning of the year, we all were just we'll pick it up. We got the talent. We got this. We had a bunch of 20-point losses this year. We didn't even know if we were going to make it, but to go into the tournament, we just knew we'd make a good run. We would take down Marquette easily and just see where you can go from there. And honestly, it was awesome watching all the games, even though they blew a bunch of leads and all the games are close like they always are, being a Carolina fan. It was awesome, and absolutely nothing feels better than being able to take down Duke, especially in a Final Four game and Coach K's last game. It was awesome. A lot of screaming and yelling at the TV, but it was all worth it.
Man, I'll tell you, those exiting the Superdome after UNC taking down Duke was wild. The fans were so loud, so many chants going, most of which I cannot repeat on the show. It's just it was such an amazing atmosphere. One of the coolest things I've seen in my life. So, as we've kind of closed out our show introduction, let's get into the meat of this. And we have to crown a champion. When I created the show format, I'm sitting at my desk coming up with the idea, and I'm like, you know what? It's a wild tournament. It's unpredictable and all that. But I'm going to put out 40 points. I think we'll do pretty good. I think, someone will come away in the 30 range, and we'll have a competitive tournament. Nick, you won with a whopping 14 points. I just don't know what to say. You had 14. Drew, you were second with 11. I was third with 10. Coach, You lost. You had 9 points across 3 rounds of action.
I want a recount. Is that accurate? Oh, is that bad? Oh my goodness. I might lose my athletic director's job over my picking.
Yeah, it was awful on all ends. I thought, 14 points would be in the neighborhood of last place. Nick, you won with it. At this time, I will give a shout out to our producer and video production teacher, Dan Ciccone. Mr. C only gave 1 round worth of picks and scored 8 points. So, percentage-wise, absolutely crushed all of us. Man, this was atrocious, but it does speak volumes to just how unpredictable March Madness is. So let's just discuss the tournament as a whole. Nick, I'm gonna let you take it away. What is what will you take away when you think about this tournament in 30 years? What was the defining moment?
Honestly, I know I'm gonna remember it I'm gonna remember it forever. Honestly, such a good run. UNC going as an 8th seed to the championship, my favorite team. But I feel like as a normal basketball fan, they would see this tournament as like quote unquote boring. I've seen that floating around too. I didn't see any buzzer beaters for the win. Even though there were a lot of upsets, we saw a 15 seed go very far. That's going to be talked about forever. But no one's really going to remember it as, oh, in 2020, in 2022, Kansas won it all. Like, from that point of view, it was a pretty boring one. I mean, UNC Duke was awesome. But the whole tournament, just like nothing came out. There wasn't some crazy highlights. So I've been seeing boring floating around. But from my point of view, it was a great tournament. And definitely watching my favorite team be in the last game of the season felt awesome. But it was all right. It was pretty good.
Yeah, we didn't get to see like Chris Jenkins step up and drain a game-winning three-pointer to win the tournament. We didn't get anything like that, so I get what you're saying. Drew, what's your takeaway here?
From my point of view, I just think this will be remembered as the St. Peter's tournament just because it's the biggest 15 seed going to the Elite Eight. But just more of what Nick was saying, there really was no buzzer. Like, we didn't get a Jalen Suggs buzzer beater to go to the national championship. Like, there wasn't any big defining moments. But it was just a good tournament. Just coming off like a COVID year, having fans back, I think, was probably just the biggest impact for me that we actually had to have fans. And you said it with the atmosphere in New Orleans. Like, just to have fans back is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm so glad it looks like we've moved past this whole COVID era of watching sports, although, it might become an issue in the NBA playoffs as we've seen some storylines involving guys like Matisse Thybulle, Kyrie Irving. But I think from a fan's perspective, we've reached the point where we can finally just sit back and enjoy games right now, as Coach Tirico is doing out at lacrosse field right now. Coach, what would your takeaway be this year?
I enjoyed the competition. I enjoyed having fans back. I thought there were some really good gritty comebacks. I mean, even in the final to see Kansas come back from the situation they were in. I mean, it was a great tournament for me to watch. I enjoyed the competition all the way around.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add. I think St. Peter's was an incredible run, and we're gonna talk about them more in just a minute. But this is gonna be remembered as the Coach K year. Like, just looking at his legacy, the legacy that he's built. 47 years coaching, 40 at Duke, over 40. Yeah, no, 40 I think is the number, but over 1,200 wins, 5 national championships, 13 Final Fours. It's just absolutely staggering. I don't think we've ever seen somebody build up a legacy that even compares to this in the history of sports. The only people who could compare, I'd say, are Belichick and Brady from a longevity standpoint. Because even a guy like John Wooden, you had more championships, but not necessarily just this sheer longevity of being this good for this long. I think Coach K is just an absolute legend and one of the greatest we have seen or will ever see. But Coach K's done. It's done. I don't think he's pulling a Brady, as Sirico hinted at earlier. I think that's done. So let's talk about the storyline that's still kind of going, and that is St. Peter's. We saw them go on a run, but now we've kind of reached the part where, the program's falling apart. It's absolutely collapsing. are one of the lowest funded schools in Division One, and they've lost their coach. They're losing their top three players. Nick, what do you think's next for this small university in Jersey City?
Look, I think St. Peter's is a team. I don't think we're ever going to really hear of them again besides this tournament. I mean, if it wasn't for the coaching, I don't think they would have been where they are. Their coaching was superior in the first three games versus Kentucky, Murray State, and Purdue, and I think that's really why they went that far. And with Shaheen Holloway, with him leaving, I don't see them going anywhere as a program, and I don't think they're going to get any more funding or anything like that. I think they're just going to go down in history as just being the first 15 seed in the Elite Eight. But for their future, I really don't see anything coming from them.
Yeah, I was reading an ESPN article and it was kind of sad. So all the money that they earned from going on this run, because you get money for like every round that you win, it's about $2 million. It goes to the MAC conference. It doesn't go to the team. So it goes to the conference, and the conference gets to decide how to distribute it. So St. Peter's is already the lowest funded team in a very low funded conference. And most of this money probably is deeming to touch them. So it's kind of disappointing to know that there's really going to be no follow-up story or any sort of longevity here at the program. But we will see longevity, hopefully, in the figures of this tournament. Coach, what do you think Shaheen Holloway can do at Seton Hall?
I want to go back and talk about about St. Peter's, and I agree with Nick a lot on all of his points. The one thing that did come of that situation for St. Peter's is good is they got notoriety. People know who St. Peter's is now, and a kid who may not have known that they have an opportunity to play at a school like that will now recognize that. I mean, for a lot of people, they thought St. Peter's was a CYO team. Now they know they're playing Division I basketball, and maybe that brings some notoriety and a few recruits that they may not have had access to in the past. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. Good tournament for them in terms of their notoriety.
All right, yeah, that is an alternate take, and it's very possible, if I'm someone anywhere near this area, tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, even going up to parts of Connecticut, I think St. Peter's has to be on my radar, even if some of the figures are gone. Drew, I'm going to let you take this next question then. Talk about Shaheen Holloway for us. Do you think he can lead Seton Hall to some more success? And do you think he'll be joined by Doug Eddert and some of those other Peacock players?
I would like to see him bring them with him to Seton Hall, but just former player. I think we'll see. He'll bring a little magic to Seton Hall. I don't know if he'll have the biggest effect that on Seton Hall like it did for St. Peter's, but I'm hoping that maybe one or two of his former players will follow him there. But just what he did in this press conference after they lost, just talking when people are asking about Seton Hall, and he's a coach that every single coach should be. He cares more about his players than his own future. And then even in his own press conference, he made everyone. They got a standing ovation for the St. Peter's players because without his players, he wouldn't be where he is at St. Peter's. Seton Hall. It's because of his players. So he's really just an ideal coach. But I do think he'll have an impact at Seton Hall. But I don't think it will be a big impact that he'll have him on a run in March Madness next year or from years to come.
Yeah, I think he definitely proved himself as a very player-friendly coach. I absolutely loved listening to every single interview that he did.
One of the things I think he did the best was he recruited well, and that will be a big asset for him going into Seton Hall. If he can continue to recruit guys to play for him, man, they're gonna have. I think he'll have success no matter where he goes.
Yeah, and Seton Hall's already a program that's really been built up in the past couple years. The only thing they failed to do was win in the tournament, and he definitely looks like he is the guy to do that for this program that has been good traditionally. Former Big East team, back in the new Big East, and then really turning things around as a team. So now that we've kind of spoken on the high point of the tournament, let's go to the low point, and that is the refs. I'm someone who generally speaking likes to be positive and forgiving towards referees. But I just felt like at times the reffing in this tournament was unacceptable. Nick, I know you and me have talked about this in the past, not on air, but I want you to voice some of your frustrations here. What do you think was so bad about the
I
reffing?
thought throughout the tournament, it honestly got like much better. Towards the Elite Eight and beyond, towards the championship, I thought the referees were a lot better. But in the first rounds, some of the games were so slow. Like UNC Baylor just comes to mind because it was a game I was really paying attention to and watching. I think Baylor had 10 fouls in the first 5 minutes in the second half, and that's just ridiculous. Even though like I obviously want that team to foul, I want my team to be getting free throws and getting to the line. You can't have 10 fouls in 5 minutes. It was a really slow paced game. There's a lot of ridiculous calls. So the big men couldn't even do anything down there. They would either get called for offensive or like nobody would even touch them and they get called for a foul. The first two rounds were honestly ridiculous. Games were hard to watch. They were ridiculously long. But towards the end of the tournament, they really got good. I thought there was a controversial call in the Duke UNC game where Keels was driving in, and that could have been an N1. It was 50-50. I feel like that was the only bad call, in my opinion. Even though I'm a UNC fan, I still think that was an N1. That was a little ridiculous. And same with RJ Davis going up for a shot and getting 2 free throws, even though he didn't even get touched one time. But other than those two calls, I really feel like it wasn't that bad from the Elite Eight and beyond. But the first two rounds was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up to question to you. I was fully expecting you to completely deny that they were bad calls and just say that UNC got the right calls made for them. But I can respect a fan being willing to admit that maybe their team benefited a little bit from referees. Nonetheless, it was a great game, and I do agree. I thought the refs got better. I obviously, watching the games in the arena, you don't really notice those long pauses because you're just so amped up, getting hyped with the rest of the fans. But I thought I agree. Those beginning of that tournament was unwatchable. So with that being said, we are going to start to wrap this up. We're going to throw it out round one final time. Drew, we're going to start with you. Any closing thoughts on this tournament and the competition that we have just had?
It was a great overall tournament. A lot of competitiveness. A lot of big upsets. A couple number one seeds going down. Everyone thought Gonzaga coming into it was the dominant force, going to win it all, and of course they lose yet again. And now all their players are going to be gone, go to the NBA now. But it was just a great overall tournament. The competition here on the show was great. It was a lot of fun to be on the show with everyone here doing competition. Coming in second was pretty cool. Nick dominated us all, but it was a lot of fun. I thank you a lot.
Dominated is a word that I would use very lightly in this situation, as we have already discussed. Coach, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I thought everybody did a great job. I thought Nick did a great job of winning it. He knows his basketball. There's no question about that. I'm disappointed in myself that Mr. Ciccone picked the first round. It almost beat me, and I picked the whole tournament. So I'm not feeling good about that. But thanks a lot for having me on the show, and it was great. You did a great job, Theodore. Thank you.
Thank you. Been great having you on, and look forward to hopefully doing something like this again. Nick, you're the champion. I'm going to take a step back, let you start to wrap this show up. What do you want to add here?
It feels great to be a champion, honestly. Even though my team couldn't be champions, I am, so it feels good. It was a great tournament overall, honestly. I really enjoyed it. But there's one thing I do want to touch on before we close up. One, the UNC Duke was probably one of the greatest games I've ever seen in March Madness history. What an amazing game that was. And two, what is happening with the LSU program?
Oh, my God, yes. We've got to talk about that.
I feel like we need to touch on that. I think, 14 or 15 of their guys are gone. Their coach is gone. I think they have one player left. Like the whole program's collapsing after their little upset that happened at the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah, they have no players on the roster right now. Joe Burrow goes out and wins a Heisman, and then the whole program falls apart. Man, that is both sports. That whole situation is a mess right now, everywhere in LSU. But as someone who's been to New Orleans twice now and loves the city, I hope they turn it around. I hope the Tigers can become a solid team again in the future. I think they have the resources, the money, the location, the history, everything to do so. But we may be looking at a some kind of punishment put on them by the NCAA. All right, so I think that'll just about do it for this year's overtime March Madness pick show. We hope to be doing this again next year. Nick, unfortunately, you will not be able to join us. I think we're restricted to Warwick students. Coach Drew, would love to have you back. We'll probably be rolling out some new guests as well. We'll be here at the network at WBTV, putting out some more content as always. So I'm really excited for the direction that we're heading in there.
Look, if you need me to be a special guest, I'll for sure be a special guest. But
yeah, absolutely. We'll bring you back to discuss UNC's incoming first round loss next year. I'm calling it right now. I'll bring you on for the second round.
Funny guy.
All right, for Drew Borner, Coach Rico, and the champion Nick Nicosia, I'm Theodore Fernandez.
Hey, listen, you are getting a go Wildcats. Nicosia, we're going to break that rule. You're coming back next year. You got to do this show, man. You earned it.
Go.
Thanks, man. See you later.
The only person that can say go Wildcats is Coach Rico. None of us.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Go Wildcats.
Only Coach
Go
Rico. Only
Wildcats.
Coach Rico.